Welcome to the session on chemistry of 3D metals, a generic approach. Objective of this session is to understand various characteristic properties of 3D series elements. Learning outcomes of this session. At the end of the session, one will be able to understand what are 3D series elements and why are they called so. What do you mean by transition elements? What are the general characteristics of these transition elements? Why do 3D series elements exhibit variable oxidation states? And what is the origin of color in transition metal ions and their compounds? What is the origin of magnetism in transition metal ions and their compounds? How do 3D series elements form coordination complexes? All these we are going to understand here. Before that, let us ask these questions. Why the name 3D? And how are the elements in periodic table categorized into blocks? S block, D block, P block and F block. What are the different elements present in 3D series? What do you mean by transition elements? And why is it important to study these 3D elements? To understand these questions, let us see periodic table. On extreme left of periodic table, we have alkali and alkaline earth metals. If you look at this electronic configuration of these elements, the outermost electrons of these elements are located in s orbitals. Since outermost electrons are located in s orbital, so these elements are placed under s block. Come to extreme right of the periodic table. There are 6 groups. These 6 groups consists of p block elements. Since maximum number of electrons a p orbital can accommodate is 6, starting from p1, p2, p3, p4, p5 and p6. So there are 6 groups of p block elements. Again, if you see their electronic configuration, outermost electrons of these elements are located in p orbitals. That is why they are placed under p block. Now the elements remaining in between these S and P block are D block elements. If you look at electronic configuration of these elements, the outermost electrons of these elements are placed in D orbitals. So that is why these elements are grouped under D block elements. At the bottom we have lanthanoids and actinoids. If you see their electronic configuration, outermost electron is located in F orbitals. So these are also called F block elements. So S block, P block, in between them is D block, at the bottom we have F block. Based on the type of orbital in which outermost electrons of these D block elements are located, we can name these series of elements as 3D, 4D and 5D. 3D means in this series of elements, the outermost electrons are located in 3D orbitals. For this series, the outermost electrons are located in 4D orbitals, and for this series the outermost electrons are located in 5D from hafnium to mercury. So the name is 3D, 4D and 5D series. Our interest is to study these 3D series elements. Starting from element scandium to zinc, we have 10 elements. scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper and zinc. Remember, maximum number of electron a d orbital can accommodate is 10, and we have, starting from d1 to d10, we have 10 groups. So there are 10 elements in this d block, 10 groups in these d block elements. So in 3D series we have 10 elements in total. Now, why the name transition element? Why the name transition? Look at the periodic table again. On left portion you have highly metallic elements, alkali and alkaline earth. On right side you have metalloid, non-metals and gases. So there is a change in property from left to right if you move in periodic table. Highly metallic to non-metallic. So the metallic character is decreasing. And fortunately, these D block elements are acting as a bridge between these S block and P block elements. And properties of these D block elements are transitional between those of S and P block elements. That is why the name is transition, and these elements are called transition elements. Since they are abridging the gap between S and P block elements, abridging the change in properties between S and P block elements, so the name is transition. Now next question is how to define these transition elements. So as a definition we can say the element having partially filled d or f orbitals in their ground state or commonly occurring oxidation states are called transition elements. Transition elements include both D and F block elements. Now what are the general characteristics of these elements? Let us try to understand those. All transition elements are generally metals. So being metal, they are strong, hard and ductile and good conductor of heat and electricity. All these elements that do form alloys with other transition metals and non-transition metals, for example brass. They do exhibit high melting and boiling points due to small atomic sizes. Because of small atomic sizes, they experience strong interatomic interactions. But moving from left to right in 3D series, the last element zinc that exhibit low melting and boiling point because it has completely filled d orbital. About atomic radii and ionic radii of these elements, there is a decrease in ionic radii and atomic radii as we move from left to right across the row, until near the end at zinc when the size slightly increases. This small extent of decrease in size from left to right is due to addition of new coming electrons into d orbitals without addition of new cells. Every incoming electron is being added to 3d orbital. Second, d orbital, because of its imperfect geometry, it exhibits pore shielding effect. So it shields the electrons in d orbitals, they shield nuclear charge inefficiently. And because of this inefficient or pore shielding of nuclear charge, the outermost electrons experience attraction from the protons. Consequently, there is a contraction in size. Now atomic volume of these d block elements are lesser than those of s and p block elements. As we have seen, in transition elements electrons are being added into d orbitals having poor shielding effect. Because of this, the outermost electrons are experiencing nuclear charge that pulls the electron cloud inwards, resulting in decrease in atomic volume of d block elements. Ionization potential values of these transition elements are greater than s block elements and lesser than p block elements. So these values are in between s and p. So these d block elements are less electropositive than alkali and alkaline earth metals. Now what we have learnt so far? What are 3D series elements and why are they called so? What do you mean by transition elements and what are the general characteristics of transition elements? The questions remaining are: why do 3D series elements exhibit variable oxidation states? What is the origin of color in transition metal ions and their compounds? What is the origin of magnetism in transition metal ions and their compounds? And how do 3D series elements form coordination complexes? All these we will understand through electronic configuration of these elements. Now look at the element from starting from scandium to zinc. Scandium is present in periodic table just after calcium, so atomic number of scandium is 21. So 21 atomic number of scandium, 30 is the atomic number of zinc. So 21 to 30. Every new coming electron is being added to 3D orbitals. Look at the configuration. So the configuration is argon 18, the core electrons, 18 electron we have. Then we have 2 4s2 electron, 18 to 20 plus 1, 21. So like this, every incoming electron is being added to 3D. In titanium 3D2, vanadium 3D3. So like this that goes on up to zinc 3D10. But there are two elements we have to keep in mind which follow unusual pattern. Not like rest of the elements in 3D series. In chromium, the configuration should have been 3D4 and 4s2, but the configuration is 3D5 and 4s1. This 3D5 is due to extra stability exhibited by half-filled d orbital. As we know, maximum number of electrons in d orbital can be accommodated is 10. So 5 electron is half-filled. So half-filled d orbital is extra stable. Because of this extra stability, chromium prefers to have 3D5 4s1 configuration. Similarly, in copper, we have the configuration should have been 3D9 and 4s2, but the configuration is 3D10 and 4s1. Because of extra stability of fully filled d orbital, since maximum number of electron accommodated by d orbital is 10, so d10 is going to have extra stability. So because of this extra stability, copper prefers to have configuration 3D10 and 4s1. So that's how the electronic configuration we have. Looking at this electronic configuration, we can have a discussion on oxidation states, which is very important property of transition elements. These transition elements exhibit variable oxidation state, that means more than one oxidation state, unlike S and P block elements. So this variable oxidation state, if we see this example of scandium, the configuration is argon 18, 3D1 and 4s2. Now let's say the two outermost electron from s orbitals are lost. then the oxidation state of scandium would be +2 and the electronic configuration is 3d1. Remember, the electron will be lost from 4s2 first, from the outermost orbital, that is 4s2, then it will be lost from 3d1. But if all the 3 electrons are lost, 2 from 4s2 and 1 from 3d1, then the oxidation state is going to be +3 and the configuration is 3d0 and 4s0. But question is, can it happen so? The electrons can be lost from both 4s and 3d also. The answer is yes. Why? Very small energy difference between 3d and 4s orbital leads to this, where electrons can be lost both from 4s and 3d. We can say otherwise, the electrons in both 4s and 3d do take part in bond formation. So because of this, the unique property of transition element is variable oxidation state. Remember, this variable oxidation state is going to play major role in chemistry of transition elements. Look at the variable oxidation state for each element. Starting from scandium to zinc, we have seen the electronic configuration you have. Based on the possible electrons that can be lost from element, we have shown this oxidation state for different elements. Let's say for example scandium. If 2 electrons are lost from 4s, then oxidation state is +2, and if all the 3 electrons are lost, means first 2 electrons from s orbital will be lost, then 1 electron from 3d orbital will be lost, then it can have +3 oxidation state. Similarly, titanium, 2 electrons are lost from 4s, +2, then 1 electron from here, 2 plus 1 3, so +3, all the 4 electrons +4. So like this, all possible oxidation states based on the number of electrons that can be lost are written here. Look at manganese. It shows a range of oxidation state from +2 to +7, chromium +1 to +6. But the question we need to understand is, the point we need to keep in mind is, it is not necessary that all the oxidation states mentioned against element are stable. But we have mentioned this just to understand the possible number of electrons that can be lost and the possible oxidation state one element can exhibit. Yes, it may not be stable, but the oxidation state is possible for these elements. So this diagram shows the variety of oxidation state this transition element starting from scandium to zinc does so. Very important property, color of transition metal ions and their compound. Where from? What is responsible for this color in these compounds, in these metal ions? It is the presence of unpaired electrons in transition metals or ions makes their compound and complexes colored. Because of presence of unpaired electrons in these elements, there is a possibility this electronic transition is possible, or excitation of these electron is possible from one low energy d orbital to higher energy d orbital. And when electronic transition is possible from low energy orbital d orbital to high energy d orbital, certain amount of energy will be absorbed by the electron. And if that absorbed energy falls under visible region, then we see a color. So that's the fundamental behind color. We'll understand it next slide in detail. But in contrary to this, S and P block elements, they are the excitation of electrons from S orbital and P orbital to higher energy orbital is not that easy. So that is why they do not exhibit colored compounds. I have given certain examples here. Scandium. The electronic configuration is argon 18, 3d1 and 4s2. If all the 3 electrons are lost from scandium, then oxidation state is scandium 3 plus. That means the configuration is 3d0. That means no electron is there in d orbital. No unpaired electron is left in d orbital. What does it mean? Any compound or ion having scandium in 3 plus oxidation state is going to be colorless. Similarly, titanium. Electronic configuration, outermost is 3d2 and 4s2. So if all the 4 electrons are lost, then titanium is in 4 plus oxidation state, so 3d0. Since no electron is there in d orbital, so this titanium 4 plus ion is going to be colorless. Any compound or complex having titanium in 4 plus oxidation state is going to be colorless. So titanium oxidation state, if it is 3 plus, only 3 electrons are lost, then 3d1. Since 1 electron is present, so this titanium 3 plus ion and its compound are going to be colored. Similarly, copper, after losing 2 electrons, the configuration is 3d9. So since there are 9 electrons are there in d orbitals, so copper is going to be, cupric is going to be colored. Zinc, after losing 2 electrons, so 3d10 is the configuration. So no, the d orbital is fully filled. No vacant d orbital is there with zinc. So this compound is going to be colorless. Now what is the origin of color in transition metal ions? So this can be understood with the help of crystal field theory. What does it say? These 3D series elements are having their electrons in 3D orbitals, and d orbitals, if you look at, there are 5 d orbitals: dxy, dyz and dzx, dx square minus y square and dz square. If you recall their geometry, dxy, dyz and dzx are of one category. That means their lobes are lying in between axes. And for dx square minus y square and dz square, their lobes are lying along the axis. So these 2 categories of orbital. But as long as these d orbitals, these elements, these metal ions are isolated or in free form, not bonded to any ligand in order to form a complex, all these 5 d orbitals are degenerate. That means all are having same energy. But once these metal ions, they form bond with ligands to form complexes or coordination compounds, the degeneracy of these d orbitals gets destroyed. That means these d orbitals remain no longer degenerate. These d orbitals, when ligands approach metal to form a bond in order to form a complex, these d orbitals, they do experience repulsion from ligands, electrons in the ligand. And because of different geometry, the extent or magnitude of repulsion between these d orbitals and electrons and ligand are going to be different, going to be non-uniform. As a consequence, these d orbitals gets splitted into two sets of d orbitals based on their energy. Now when these d orbitals are splitted into two sets of d orbitals, the electronic transition from lower set of d orbital to higher set of d orbital gives rise to color in that particular metal ion and its compound and complexes. And this color of this transition metal complex depends on the energy required by this electron for transition from low energy d orbital to high energy d orbitals. Let us understand this through this diagram here. The top one, we have a metal which is isolated, free metal ion, not bonded to any ligand. All the d orbitals are degenerate, are having same energy. When this d orbital, this metal ion are approached by ligands, as long as this repulsion is uniform, so this d orbitals, of course the energy will be higher than the free metal ion, but all are degenerate. Once these ligands, they form a complex and there is a repulsion between ligand and these electrons of ligands and electrons in d orbitals. These d orbital gets splitted into two sets of d orbitals, dx square minus y square and dz square, one set, that's called Eg. E stands for doubly degenerate and G stands for Gerard. And dxy, yz and zx is T2G. T stands for triple degenerate, G stands for Gerard. And the separation between them is delta O. Delta is the separation in terms of energy. This is nothing but energy. O stands for octahedral. So this complex is octahedral. So 6 ligands are creating an octahedral field around metal, which leads to splitting of d orbitals into two energy levels. As a consequence of this splitting of d orbitals, look at how electronic transition is taking place. Let's say a metal ion having 3d4, a complex having 3d4, a complex having metal ion with 3d4 electronic configuration. So these orbitals are splitted. So these 4 electrons will be arranged like this, T2G3 and Eg1. Now if energy is absorbed, h nu amount of energy is absorbed, then this one electron from T2G orbital can be jumped to Eg orbital, and this jumping or transition of electron by absorption of h nu amount of energy, and if this h nu amount of energy is in visible range, having wavelength in the range of 380 to 700 nanometer, then we see a color. This is the fundamental behind color in transition metal compounds and complexes. Although there are further details need to be understood to explain spectral properties or color of these transition metal compounds, but at this stage we will confine to this electronic transition only. As I have said, this color of the complexes depends on the energy required for electronic transition from low energy d orbital to high energy d orbital, and this energy depends on the nature of ligand. See these cobalt complexes, in all these metal is same cobalt, oxidation state is same 3+, number of ligands are 6, only difference is ligand. So these ligands are creating different ligand field strength that needs different energy for electronic transition. That is why we see different colors: orange for aqua complex, amino complex greenish blue, and cyano complex violet. Similarly, it also depends on geometry. We are not going to further understand the details why the geometry is having influence on color. The symmetry and other rules we are not going to discuss at this stage. Just to understand the octahedral complex of cobalt, pink color, tetrahedral complex, blue color. Similarly, number of d electrons also, copper, cuprous chloride and cupric chloride, color is different because number of d electrons are different. Like we have seen magnetic properties, like we have seen color properties in transition metal compounds, similarly magnetic properties in transition metal compounds. What is the origin of magnetism in transition metal compounds? It is due to presence of unpaired electrons. These elements exhibit magnetic character. And where from this magnetism comes in these transition elements? The answer is the motion of electron in an element that is responsible for magnetism in that element. And look at this diagram. Nucleus at the center, electron is rotating in an orbital. So rotation of electron in an orbital, charged particle is rotating in a spherical path, that develops magnetism. So rotation of electron or motion of electron around in an orbital gives rise to orbital magnetic moment. And when electron rotates, it spins around its own axis, like it's like spinning around its own axis. So the spinning of electron around its own axis gives rise to spin magnetic moment. And this because of two sorts of motion of electron gives rise to two types of magnetic movement. The effective magnetic moment is the resultant of spin magnetic moment and orbital magnetic moment. Let us understand how to recognize magnetic character of a transition metal compound based on the number of electrons in its d orbital. If all the electrons in d orbitals are in paired form, then the compound is going to be diamagnetic. What does it suggest? If that compound, if diamagnetic compound is placed near a permanent magnet, it gets repelled. Look at this. In this, the electrons are in paired form. No unpaired electron is there, so it is diamagnetic. And it is getting repelled when placed near a permanent magnet. The transition metal and its complex having d orbitals where unpaired electron is left, not all the electrons are in paired form, then the compound is going to be paramagnetic. What does it suggest? If paramagnetic compound is placed near a permanent magnet, it gets attracted towards the magnet. Look at the electronic configuration. You have unpaired electrons here, and this is paramagnetic in nature, and this is getting attracted towards the magnet. Another important property of transition metals is complex formation. Transition metal form coordination compound with Lewis bases. Lewis base is something, a group or species that donates electron or electron pair, and these groups are called ligands, and these ligands can be neutral molecules like water, ammonia, or ions like cyanide, chloride, etc. And because of availability of low energy vacant d orbitals, the electron pairs donated by ligands are accommodated in those d orbitals, vacant or partially filled d orbital, that is responsible for complex formation by transition metals and transition metal ions. Catalytic property. Transition metals, they do exhibit catalytic property, and one of the very important property that finds these d block elements their important applications in industries. Because of variable oxidation state, since their oxidation state varies, that means now the metal is in +2 state, by losing one electron it can be +3, again by gaining electron it can be +2. So there is this, because of this variable oxidation state, these metals, they do form unstable intermediates between reactant and products, which helps in catalysis. Also, these metals, they do provide suitable surface area for adsorption of the reactant molecules. One of the examples here is synthesis of ammonia catalyzed by iron. Interstitial compound. These transition metals, they do form non-stoichiometric compounds due to their variable valency, and also it is caused by defects in solid structure. For example, iron oxide, as the formula shows, iron and oxygen are present in the compound in 1:1 ratio, but practically the analysis shows iron is present less than 1, that's 0.94, and oxygen is present more than 1. So this kind of non-stoichiometry gives rise to different sets of compounds, although very important applications they do have. And transition metal compounds of group 6 elements, they do form non-stoichiometric compounds: oxygen, sulfur, selenium and tellurium. Why are these elements important to study? Having seen these important properties starting from electronic configuration to variable oxidation state, metallic character, conductivity, magnetism, catalytic property, complex formation tendency, so these compounds find a range of applications in our day-to-day life. Even these compounds find significant role in biochemical processes, although there are selective metals, but they have very significant role in biochemical processes. That is why it is very important to understand the basics of these 3D series elements. So what we have learnt finally? What are 3D series elements and why are they called so? What do you mean by transition elements? What are the general characteristics of transition elements? Why do 3D series elements exhibit variable oxidation states? What is the origin of color in transition metal ions and their compounds? What is the origin of magnetism in transition metal ions and their compounds? How do 3D series elements form coordination complexes? These are the important outcomes we have learnt from this session. If you have liked this, share with your friends who need it, and if you have any question, please feel free to write me at the mentioned email ID nnaugusti@gmail.com. All the best. Thank you very much for your attention.